welcome to today's Social System Mapping Deep Dive session. Your hosts today are me, Christine Capper, co-founder of sumApp and Greater Than the Sum, and just Tim, if you're, we'll have you wave later because I don't think you're on screen. My partner Tim Hansen is with us as well, and Kara Martiner will be doing our tech, sharing things in the chat and any tech help you need. And then Lisa Negstad is going to mostly be carrying most of the facilitation weight of doing the sense making using HSD principles. So for those of you who are brand new to this, this is our second monthly the community of practice session. On the second Monday of the month, we usually have an on-ramp session, which is an intro level where people share a map. Someone in our community shares a map, and it's a great opportunity to get introduced to social system mapping if you're not familiar with it. This December, Tim and I are going to, and Kara are going to take a vacation, and we're not going to do an on-ramp. Self-care. So we'll let you know. You'll definitely get once we get January figured out. We'll notify you that again. So December deep dive conversations. This one, for those of you who are new, what we do is we do an intro in the first session. The second session is a deeper discussion about something related to social system mapping that takes more than, that assumes sort of an introductory level understanding of mapping. And again, in December, we're not doing it. But then the third session of every month is our tech talk. And this, in November, we are doing it, and it's going to be an open topic. We did open topic last time, and it was sort of an open space, a little bit of an open space technology concept. And it worked really well, and it was fun, and it helped people get to know each other. So we're going to do that again in November, or in next week, next Monday. Okay, if you are new to this and you want places to learn more, one of the things you can do is we have our own social system map for this community of practice. And so I invite you to, Kara just put a link to the map into the chat. You can use the opt-in form and add yourself to the map. That's a really great way to get the experience of what it's like to be a member who goes through sumApp. It also gives you code you can crib. I mean, you can just sort of copy whatever you want from that map. You can also join our Slack team. Kara has put a link to that. And we also have an online knowledge base with, it's not exhaustive, but it's pretty full. And then we also have recordings of recent sessions in that knowledge base as well. So there should be a link to that as well. So lots of resources for you to dig into. And then lastly, if you need to talk to somebody, obviously online stuff is great, but sometimes you just want a fuller conversation. You can, I devote a half hour every week to office hours where I'm just online on my Zoom. That's every Thursday from 5 to 5:30 p.m. Central. Just feel free to pop in and tell me what you're thinking about, and we can talk it through. I do sometimes cancel, so I will put cancellations in Slack if I'm going to. But it's fun to have people stop in and visit me, so feel free to do that. I'd love it. Okay, enough about us. We're going to start to we're going to do some chat intros, do our intros in chat, and we'll have a poll when that's done. But let's have you all, oh, and I am going to stop sharing for a moment. Okay, so let's have you put into the chat your name, start with your name, your pronoun, and your location. And
just call out names.
Call out names while you're doing it. That's a great idea, Peter. I like it. I'm Christine. Not a norm we've set, I guess. I'll have to set that norm for future. But feel free to. We've got Stephanie from Edmonton, Alberta, and Laura from Germany, and Mike from the UK, Maya from Massachusetts, Phil from Indiana, Akiko is in Sweden, Haneli in South Africa, Dita's in the UK, It's great. It's so fun to see people from all over the world and see, let's do this. Let's also just put in the chat a network that you're working with, and it's what it's about. It's always fun to see what people, and if you don't have one, maybe there's one you're thinking about. So Manasa, we've been communicating in the background a little bit the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You have a
I have
big,
my colleague Dejan also here today.
Yep. So Students and Alumni, Children and Nature Network, food security, land. A native network on land, Lower Mekong Network, hospital system executives, joy generation. It's amazing to me, all the, like, who would have thought until we started doing these sessions and asking people what the networks they were working on. It's like so many doing so much rich and important work. It's exciting to get to see that just by doing these sessions every week. And now what, of course, which we're gonna get to. Okay, and then last chat question is, what one thing you're hoping to get from this session? Did I? Yes, thank you, Lisa. Oh, Maya, that's nice. Reconnecting. Ben, much appreciated. Hopefully you'll get something out of it as well, though. Yeah, cool. Sharpen system mapping tools. Learn new things. Progress. Always think about. Yeah. Laura, I'm glad you're here since this has been an ongoing conversation we've been having about sense making. Okay. Well, connecting tips. Tim just disappeared into the forest. I forgot to have him wave at you. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, the guy who's in the forest, background, obviously, that's my partner and husband who does sumApp and social system mapping with us. Cool. Okay. Now Kara is going to put up a poll, and this poll is going to ask us, we just want to find out what familiarity everyone in this session has with Human Systems Dynamics. So how familiar are you with HSD? Can everybody see the poll? Okay, when you're, go ahead and just answer that and submit it. And let's have you either raise your hand when you're done or put the hand icon. Here he comes back in. Tim, will you just wave to everybody? No. Okay, Kara,
Does it tell you what percentage have completed the poll?
Kara, does it? Do you know?
It does. We have a few people who are technically facilitating, so they don't factor in if they don't answer, but I believe we have everyone unless we all want to answer.
Okay.
Christine, I don't know if it allows you to pick, but we should have everybody now.
Okay. Doesn't allow me to do, I don't know. So go ahead and you want to share the results? Okay, so 38% not at all, 38% somewhat, 25% familiar, and I guess, Lisa, you're the only current HSD practitioner here. So
right, that's helpful background, yeah. Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa and share my screen again. I'll be driving the PowerPoint, but she'll be doing the facilitation and the talking. You ready?
Hello, beautiful people. It's so nice to see all of you on a Monday morning, cold Monday morning here in Minnesota. So we are going to just cover some human systems dynamics basics because we've been playing around and having fun realizing that this is a good tool for sense making on a social system map. And we're really grateful to the Now What folks who are here and who have been using social system mapping for their network, because we're going to use that map as our example today. And so I'm going to go over some HSD basics, and then we're going to dig in and invite all of you to use that to do some sense making with the map. And then we'll look to those of you who are part of that Now What map, who are here to kind of see if there's any insights that you're pulling at the end. And we'll also have one of the coordinators of the map introduce a little bit of the purpose of that. So that's what today is looking like. Why don't you go to the next slide, Christine?
Okay.
Yeah, so why don't we have Ben, maybe do a little more introduction of yourself, Ben, and give us an overview of the Now What map that we're going to use for this sense-making session.
Sure. It might help if I shared my screen. I don't know, but it isn't necessary.
Do you want me to go to the map?
I was going to go to the homepage of Now What.
Okay. Hang on, I've got to.
Nowwhat2020.com.
Okay, you can go there.
It's all right. Okay, yeah. Well, you know what? I'll just talk.
Okay.
My network bandwidth is low.
Yeah.
And so Now What is a global gathering that pops up twice a year. This is now the fourth time that we've had this event in something like its current form. So it began in the sort of prototype in March of 2019, and then May and June, October, November, March and April this year, and now this one, which wraps up on this Friday. And so typically they're 6 weeks long. And our theme is the art of being fully human in a time of crisis. So it brings together sort of a network of networks of people and initiatives and campaigns and organizations that are working on different aspects of often what you might call systemic transformation, system shifting networks, to use June Hawley's term, across a whole range of different issues. And then we also have, so a lot of it is dialogue, a lot of it is connecting, a lot of it is sort of basic networking and getting to know people and building relationships. But in addition, we pop up a gift economy space. So we're trying to support one another in our work, move money and other resources, share skills, share insights, share our different capacities in support of healing and regeneration and transformation and surviving collapse and sort of the whole global hairball of things. How's that? I'll add one more thing. It's been a way that a lot of projects have gotten launched and prototyped as sort of one of the ways people have used it. Is, at the heart of it is just getting to know people and finding, building connections and being together during whatever period of time we're going through. This time around, it's been the election. Last time we were doing it just as COVID was coming on. But it's also been a way that things have gotten started and then sort of launched out into the world.
Thanks, that's great, Ben. We're actually going to give you a link for the Now What map in a minute, but first we want to just go over some of the Human Systems Dynamics basics that we're going to use for the sense making, and a little intro to it. And maybe I can invite Christine to put in the hsdinstitute.org website just in the chat in case anyone wants to know more information. But we found that the work of Human Systems Dynamics really can help with sense making of a map, because it's all about how self-organizing systems work. And a network is a self-organizing system. And so the work of HSD takes and talks about how each self-organizing system has these three components: containers, differences, and exchanges. And this is what we've been having fun playing with, is like looking at these three components as a way to do sense making with the map. So let's look through what each of these are. So Christine, the container is a bounding condition. So it is anything that kind of separates from the environment that you're in. So examples of them are individuals, different groups, values, containers, perspectives, goals, physical locations, plans. So anything that creates that bounding condition. Entities, so there's endless list, and they're often, in a self-organizing system, they're often massively entangled, right? Let's look at what difference is now. So a difference is any distinction across that system. It's where the tension can happen. This is actually, if you don't have difference, you're not going to have any change, right? So if you have too much similarity in any self-organizing system, there's no tension for change. And if you have a lot of difference, that's when we get into like a lot of different changes that are hard to distinguish, and the system actually splits if you have too much difference. So in a self-organizing system, we're looking at where are those differences that can make a difference. So examples are different interests, different assets, experiences, backgrounds, cultural experience, or different experiences, learning styles, roles, different levels of power, both formal and informal. Those are different examples of difference. And again, as you can see, there are probably many more. And then the last component of a self-organizing system that we talk about is an exchange. So this is that flow of transfer of energy and resources. It's fun to see how this is connecting already to gift economy. And so examples of that are funding flows, friendship, connections, swapping skills. This is where asks and offers really can kind of come into. Trust that we build, bartering, collaborations. You can see all the different ways that exchanges happen. So these are the connections that happen in the self-organizing system. So that's just a very quick overview, but I think these tend to be, they tend to be a little bit intuitive. And so especially when we're looking at a network that is a self-organizing system, it's a good way to kind of help us look at that and maybe see some new things in it. So let's go to doing some sense making. And let's use these components of a self-organizing system to do some sense making with the Now What map. We're popping the link in the chat. Kara just put that in there. And we want to just give you a little time to get into the map yourself. So having it come up on your computer, take a little time to orient yourself to the map. And if you're good to go, if you kind of have it up and you're able to get in and take a look at it, can you just give us a, go to the participants and click on that on your Zoom chat and give us one of those green yes check marks. You'll see it at the bottom of the participants list. We just want to make sure all of you can get into the map and have it ready before we dive into the next step. I see a few green check marks. Some of you are in there and ready to go. If you have any questions about getting in there, or just need any help with that, let us know. So we're hoping that you can get into the map yourself on whatever computer or device you're on. The link is in the chat. It's the last thing that's been posted in the chat box.
But if you can't get into the map yourself, it's okay. Don't feel pressured about it, or don't panic if you can't. Just what most of the sense making process is going to happen basically in the chat. So if you aren't looking at a map, you can just watch the chat and you'll see, you'll be seeing what other people are seeing in the map, which is almost as helpful. And I think we lost Ben. He pinged me privately and said he's having bandwidth trouble. Okay. So hopefully he'll get back in and be able to see the chat as we, well, I guess we'll see what happens. Oh no, I see, he's here.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Did you pop off for a second and pop back in?
I did, yeah. I had some bandwidth issues, so I thought rebooting might help.
Okay, we're good. So are we, I'll let you all stop talking, Lisa.
No, that's really good, Christine, because I think that's a really good point. If you can't see the map, it's no problem, because the focus is the sense making, and you can do that even without having the visual in front of you right now and seeing how we're using the HSD for the sense making. So let's with those, it looks like about half of you, maybe not quite half, are in there. Yeah, half of you, so that's good. Christine, why don't you show the slides again so we can see what the first thing we'd like you to do on the map. So let's start with that first component of a self-organizing system and look at containers. So remember, these are the bounded conditions. And so look at some, you know, play around with the map, dig in, and then what we'd like you to do is go to the chat and just list the different containers you're seeing on this map. And we know it might take a little while for you to look at the map and put that in chat. So we'll just give you time to do that. And then those of you who aren't able to see the map, you can be watching what's happening in chat and see the different containers. And you might already know some different ones that are part of this map. So go ahead and do that. Take a look at the map and then start putting in the chat what containers you're seeing. Just giving you another minute or two. These are some great containers that are coming forward. You can see the different ones from participants and nodes to densely the core, and looking at, you can look at different connection configurations, loosely connected periphery to the core, right? Geolocations, values, the needs and offers are containers, skills, the partnerships, alignment. Even some of us who are more new to this map can start noticing these things fairly quickly. Those of you who are involved in the network might dig a little deeper or step back and look at the greater whole as you're looking for the containers. Yeah, these are great. I'm going to give 30 more seconds just to see if there's any more that want to come forward, and then we're going to go to the differences. These are really excellent. Great containers, everybody. Let's do the differences now. So that's the next one. If you could shift that slide, Christine. All right, so what are differences that you're seeing on the map? And we're kind of thinking also about the purpose of this network that we were hearing from Ben. And so what are the differences that are kind of most obvious or might most be noticeable in alignment with that when you're thinking about the purpose of the map? Go ahead and put those in the chat. And again, the differences can be in all different ways. Do a little more time on differences to see. Notice that there's different map views. You can find those in the side panel along the left side of the map. They're great.
So I just want to say Dita makes a really good point, which is in this sense making, we're not, I mean, we're looking for what's there, but we're also looking for what's missing or where are the gaps or what would be really helpful if it were there. So Dita's noticing things like belief systems are have a lot of potential but aren't on the map.
Right, that's excellent.
Yeah, very important. So maybe as maybe just now as you're looking for differences, also ask for, you know, what's not there that are differences that would be valuable.
Right. And any of them, what's not there for containers?
Differences and
exchanges. Let's shift to the exchanges now and look at that. So what are some of the exchanges that are reflected on this map? Again, that's the transfer, right? The flow of information, resources, connection, knowledge, energy, flow of energy, communications.
And for those of you who don't know this, you can actually click on the lines connecting two nodes. If you click on the lines, you'll actually see information about that line in the side panel, the white side panel. So if you're not sure.
Some of them might even have stories about that connection. Most not, but there are some.
Ben, we should have Tim show you how he makes it so that you can see on the map which ones have stories and which don't. So you know which ones you can, and you can even pop them up.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to show that, Christine?
Not right now.
Not right now. Okay.
I mean, we'd need to go to a different map.
I didn't know what you meant. Yeah.
No,
that's
it's
great.
technical, but it's a thing that
Yeah.
Ben can add to his map to make it even easier
Yeah.
to read that.
Okay. Excellent.
Mike is struggling with filtering. Yeah. I don't think we can go into to explain that super well at the moment. So I would just say try, just click on things and see what you can see, and we'll think about that.
He tried to filter on a particular thing that there isn't a filter for, right?
Oh yeah.
There are the 6 intentions that people are invited to name for why they're showing up, like the colored circles in the legend.
And so those, Ben, those are represented as the little partial borders around the nodes, right? So you can see them that way.
Right. So for people that completed that part of the survey, and you can see a lot of people did not, you'll see these colored segments in a ring around there's the green ring, and then around that are colored segments that show which of those people indicated were reasons why they were coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the responses for exchanges, and Glenn, I'm wondering about when we were talking before the session, and you were saying, you know, one of the major goals is to foster a gift economy. And I'm not digging deeply myself at the moment, but I'm wondering if that gift economy dynamic shows up in any way beyond the pure relationship level questions, and if you've thought of including that in any way in terms of the connection questions in the map.
Well, they're part of people's profiles, right? They're naming gifts that they're bringing and requests that they have, but it's just text data individual to each profile. It's not really dynamically meant.
And the thing I'm thinking about, just in terms of in general, not necessarily in relation to this map, but how do we discover if that, like if I'm offering X, is anybody taking me up on it? Am I actually giving X, or am I simply saying I could give X, but I'm not actually having opportunities or being asked or actually having the time to do that? So is it hypothetical or is it actual gifts? I'm not saying, I'm just thinking about that as a general question.
Yeah, and you know, exchanges, I think the point is the map doesn't show you. And to the extent that exchanges have happened, they're not being mapped right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in some cases, there's some processes we know about that have working with the data in the map, but we've done actually relatively little of that as well. So most of what's happened, if it has been, you know, at the initiative of individuals.
Yep. Yeah, so Jim and Laura are commenting in the chat about ways that could be addressed or asked. Okay, I'm stopping, Lisa. I'm done.
Oh, this is great.
Another thing just to note is that many people on this map have not put their connections data in at all. Because of the complexity of adding data and the way we do the process this time around, in particular, the different steps one can take. You can get you can get on the map and never get to that point. And that's one of the reasons I show so many more connections, is that I'm more diligent than anyone else in doing that. Although I probably do have more connections than anyone else as well.
And one of the things that we do notice in SenseMaking is how, and one of the things we're learning about SenseMaking is how can we make the map useful for what you're trying to do in the network. And so then identifying this, like I'm thinking of one of the networks I'm part of, is identifying oh, maybe it would be helpful to have that exchange on the map. That's like by digging into this, you find that out, and or seeing how it could help continue whatever the purpose is on that map.
Yeah.
Versus trying to get people, like this is the big aha I've been having in SenseMaking, is trying to get people to like want to do the map. How do you make the map useful for what you're trying to do in the network? And that's something that I feel like HSD has helped me kind of think through some of that when I chunk it down into some of these different parts of self-organizing systems. So these are great. I think what we should do is have everybody just have these in mind, and we'll show kind of how you can keep going in the sense-making step with this. So what is the container difference or exchange? And any one of these might give you insight. And it might be what you don't have on there yet too, like we've been talking about. So any one of these might give you insight. And so what you want to do is the next step. This first step is just simple observation, and what are we noticing? What are we seeing? And then the next step is, you know, we're using adaptive action, which is something we use a lot in HSD so now how do we make sense of this? Like what is most present right now as we went through these observations of the containers, differences, and exchanges. So here are two questions we have for you. So what are you most noticing about this network? And so what are you wondering about this network? And you could pick either one, answer both. If you feel like it's been hard for you to do it, if you haven't quite seen it visually, then just watch what other people are noticing. But we'll take a few minutes to give you a chance to do that reflection in the chat. And it's coming up with great, like it might present additional questions, like what Mary says, like how does this map look through time, right? How does the network look through time?
Yeah, I could show that for the previous edition really well. But then of course there's the fact that the map has these layers that cut across all the editions we've done. So I can't show that as cleanly. Tim might know how to dig the data out.
So Maya, can you say just a little about what you were thinking about, curious about interactions across geography and time zone? Like what?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was looking at the geography map, and it was interesting to see that there are people across the entire world, but I didn't see the links between them on that map. So I'm curious about if there are clusters by geography, or people are sharing information more within their time zone or within their continent. Are the connections, or are the connections not based on geography at all?
Mm-hmm. And then Han, I'm wondering about your curiosity about the people on the edges. Do you want to say more?
Thank you, Christine. Yes, I just know I've been part of WhatsApp, but I really only noticed it now on the map. And I'm just curious, in the representation of the map, there are not lots of links between those individuals. And some of them I know has been quite active. So I was just wondering about the connections between them and the others, which is not really visible. Mm-hmm. So what I'm curious about is, because I've been part of the process the last 5 weeks of this iteration, is that like today, we just 2 hours earlier had some incredible synchronicities about things that we share a common interest in and are passionate about. And so what I'm saying is the engagement part has showed that to us. So I'm curious about the ones on the edges, even though they were participating, but it's not clear that there are connections between them and others, but that it does come through when we physically come together like we are doing now. Mm-hmm. It becomes clear. Mm-hmm.
Great, that's useful, thank you. Yeah, that looks. Joanna, do you want to? I'm thinking about how that your comment fits with what Han just said.
Yeah, it was, as she was speaking, I was like typing and thinking the same thing, because it was like, are they not engaging in the process? Is that why they're on the periphery? Or is it that they're on the periphery and they have no idea how to tap in?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of what I was wondering about as I was looking at it.
So there's two different things going on. There's a whole bunch of people who haven't put their connections data in. So they appear to be on the periphery, but in fact, they have lots of connections that haven't been mapped. But there are also people that really are on the periphery. People register for NOAA and don't participate in any of the Zoom calls, for example, or the online conversations. So I think there is a whole opportunity here to look at those folks and weave them in and connect that to the gift economy, actually.
Well, I'm also wondering, the people who are materially, physically participating, but not participating on the map. Now, at the risk of sounding like the tail wagging the dog, we're not trying to, the map is not the purpose of the network. The interactions are the purpose of the network. But to the degree that the map is useful to helping enhance those connections, what would entice those people who are engaging but aren't sharing their information on the map? What would make it useful to them? What would make the map useful to them? What would make it of value for them? Make them want to help the network overall really see all the dynamics that are going on? Maybe nothing, but that's a question that I'm wondering about, is what would make them want to do it? Han, yeah.
I think it's purely a case of where your attention is at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the map's beautiful. Now that we are exploring it on a deeper level, I can really see the value of it. And thank you, Ben, it's incredible work. Where I have been focusing on participating in the real life scenarios. Mm-hmm. I myself an example of that, but now I see the real value of it, and it's sad that I'm seeing it, like days before we end this, although it's continuous. But I think it's simply a case of us not really focusing on that. I haven't personally. Mm-hmm. So the map itself shows the potential of what's possible. It's just us needing to also put in our interactions in our connections.
So bye, Joanna. So one thing I'm wondering is there a way, how could the overall registration and ramping up process of each session, could it be tweaked in some way to help bring that closer to help people start to see the value of it up front rather than later on? And obviously not for, just for those people who might be in, yeah, I'm just sort of yammering, I apologize. But is there a way to change the process that could enhance the value so that people like Han would see it sooner and help other people be aware that they could just add their information and it would be quick and simple and valuable? That's one thing I'm wondering.
Can I add a short comment here, Christine? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this whole piece around interaction and the map and how many people fill in what information also made me think, like, in a more bigger picture about tracking and documentation. So I think we have many beautiful initiatives that are not well documented or tracked because it's an extra piece of work, right? Yeah. Like if you grow food or you take care of kids or whatever, like amazing things everybody is doing in the world. And doing that is one thing. And I think a lot more people are doing it than are tracking and sharing and documenting it. And I think this is a similar pattern that we also see in maps. No, I trust that there are a lot more people active or in different ways than what is mapped. So there's always a reduction. So it looks like there's less. And I think this is like, yeah, I just want to kind of zoom it out to like a bigger pattern and see if that gives some more perspective, and how we can, yeah, like pull that in so it's considered part of the action and not an extra thing that is forgotten.
Yeah. Marianne, if you're not gone, bye. She had to hop off. And then I'm wondering about Mike talking about the tensions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to say more, Mike?
Well, just, it's that whole thing about, obviously, as we've been hearing, that the data is only as useful as the quality of the data that goes in, and the way it's organized so that you can actually find what you want in a way that you can process effectively. So it has to be, so this is why I'm so interested in the whole filtering bit, because unless it's really easy, both to put the data in, and it's part of your own, the way you're working, so the data is good all the time or as much of the time as possible, and it's really, really easy to find the bit that you particularly are interested in, then I think it's hard to keep a system like this in good condition. Do you know what I mean? And I think this is, it seems to me, because it's such an extraordinarily brilliant, long-running, loads of people thing, with a very, very broad invitation. We could talk about almost anything we wanted to.
Yeah, those are, so there's a big piece of what you're talking about is just how sophisticated we make the actual interaction interface, and how easy we make it to understand and easy we make it to engage with, which is a whole separate area of conversation that we've been talking about, and it's very important. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the keys to making it a valuable ongoing tool.
Laura has a great question here, Christine, too, about, we had some things in the observation be all part of 3 categories: container, difference, and exchange. Yeah. What does that mean? Or does it matter? So what we're trying to do is just find the one that is most present right now, that has the most energy right now for the and the next step, maybe do the next slide, Christine, is
so can I just
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So Laura, it's true. Every single container could also be a difference, could also represent some kind of exchange capacity. So it is not that those are separate things. It's just they're different angles for looking at the complexity. It's like, we're going to look at it from this angle. Now we're going to look at it from that angle. Now we're going to look at it from underneath. Now we're going to look at it from top down, so that we can wrap our, have a systematic way of wrapping our brains around what we're actually looking at. And then from that, we list it, and then we say, okay, of what we've just pulled up, which one, where is the greatest potential? Where is the greatest tension? Where is the greatest thing that we're missing, that we aren't looking, we haven't been mapping it? And what do we do about that? So it's like we're doing this big scan of the whole thing, which we have to do in systems, because systems are very complex. And if we just say, okay, I see this problem one step away from me, I'm going to go attack that problem, we could be totally missing the unintended consequences, or we could be totally missing the larger context that's creating it. So in thinking about systems, this is just, it's not like any of this is rigidly defined or clear. It's all totally fuzzy, but it's a process for looking at what we're seeing. And for me, having looked at these kinds of maps for years now, when I don't know where the aha moment came from to apply the CDE to it, but it was like, oh, that's a process that will help me talk about how I'm intuitively making sense of a map. And it help us all start to develop that intuition for how do we look at a system from all the different directions. So it's really just, it's not codifying anything. It's just a tool for thinking. And then we go, what? So that's all the things we saw. And then, so what might we be discerning from that? And then, or what might that mean? Whatever it was, the so what's, all those things we saw. And we can break it down really, like with Lisa and I, once we did it in this very big way. And then we were like, okay, then we took exchanges and did, what's different within them. And so you can just, like, to the degree that it's useful at the moment, we're looking for some kind of, you know, what's one teeny tiny small next step that we can take, given different ways of
and a good point. I mean, Jim just put this in here too, Christine. I think that's super helpful to flesh that out. That, you know, if you're doing this process with your own map, the place to start would be with either your purpose of the network or a pattern, or what kind of condition you're wanting to set. You might hone it in a little bit more and then do it, so that you know, it might not just be this whole open, like, we want to make sense making of the whole map. It might be more like, what are we trying? You might have more of a presenting, focused in question you have right now, or some kind of challenge, sticky challenge you're feeling with it, with the network or with the map use. It could be either one. And then that would be the helpful. So with this example where we're trying to show you a process for sense making, you know, we were just looking at a very general purpose of the now what map, but you might hone it in and then use it. And so it's just it is a way into that complexity. And as Christine says, they all, yeah, go ahead, Christine.
Oh, Kara just pointed out to me that Dita had her hand up for a while. And
oh yeah.
So
go ahead.
It's really just a technicality, so I can leave it for later. Or I can bring it in. It's just the reason why I find the map amazing, and I find it quite useful as well. And it might be that I just didn't find a way of linking my now what entrance with the map, and then how to, I didn't know how to add the connection. So if there is a way of making that really clear and maybe merging somehow accounts or whatever, that would make it easy for me. But I'm sure I might have missed something, and that's why I couldn't find it. So
you're not the only one that doesn't read the whole newsletter.
So I just want to make one comment, Lisa, before you start to wrap up, which is, I think we forgot to say in the beginning, if you want to hang out for an extra half, I'll be here.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
So if you have further questions or further discussions, feel free to hang out after we close the session. So you're welcome to stick around. And Lisa, I'll leave it to you to do whatever you want to do next.
We just have a few minutes, but I think what just happened showed you how this can help the sense making, right? Because what's happening is you're starting with that what observation, but then you're seeing what's emerging in the conversation. And so, you know, there's just this next step, which it's hard for us to answer if we're not part of the now what map, but those who are here, part of that community, that would be your next step, is like, what's some things you might do next? What are some things that you might want to try? And then the whole idea is that you're doing an adaptive cycle with it. So you're coming back, checking in, seeing what you've tried, and doing that. So hopefully a little bit of HSD can help with sense making. We're still really playing and learning from it. And so any of your questions or feedback would be helpful. I know we just are almost at the top of the hour. So Christine, I think I'm going to turn it over to you to just see how you want to wrap up before you go into the half hour.
Oops. Yeah, did I stop sharing? Yeah, I stopped sharing. So maybe just quickly, just put in the chat. We'll give you just briefly, just a quick feedback reflection. What you liked, learned, lacked, or longed for, any or all of those, whatever is standing out for you of those four questions. And if you need to jump off, please do so. But otherwise, we'll have a collective bye-bye at the end if we wait. Great. Love. Thanks, Jim. Structure. Okay, we're at the top of the hour, so rather than force you to stick around, I'm gonna stop sharing, and feel free to keep entering that stuff in if you want. But what we like to do at the end is to have everybody unmute, so we can all wish each other a good day, evening, afternoon, whatever. So as soon as you are all unmuted, I'll count down, and then we will all give each other our blessings and greetings for the rest of as you move forward. So is everybody ready? I see a few people who haven't unmuted yet. I want to make sure we're all okay. If you're going to, okay. So And then stick around if you want after this, but 3, 2, 1. Have a wonderful day.
week, everybody.
See you all.
Bye.
Wonderful.
Good to see a whole bunch of new people.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant.